Hi, and welcome to the New World Lead episode number 7. Today, I have a very interesting conversation coming up with Martin Rutte, who has written the book Project Heaven on Earth. This one. My name is Sophie. I'm a coach, concept creator, and facilitator. And I am exploring the question, how do we create the world we love to live in? Enjoy.
Yeah. There you go.
Hi, Martin Rutte.
Hello, Sophie.
And welcome to the New World Lead.
Thank you. A pleasure to be with you.
I'm so grateful that you have decided to spend some time with me, giving me and the audience your perspective on how we create the world we love to live in. You have created this amazing piece of work, Project Heaven on Earth, how we actually start projecting heaven instead of hell on this beautiful planet we live on. In this book, you start by sharing how you got an epiphany back in 1998, realizing your assignment, divine assignment in life, to change the story of what it means to be a human and what it means to be humanity, so that we collectively can experience co-creating heaven on earth.
Yeah.
And then I don't remember if it's in where I read it in the book, or I saw it in some video. You say that actually in the beginning, people looked at you like, what are you talking about? And you actually felt a little shame, or you were like, there was some, it was like people were like, it's comfortable to talk about hell on earth, but not heaven. That caught my attention. How do you experience that back then, and how have you seen the development until now?
Well, let me give you a little context. So I'm a management consultant. I've worked with large companies, Sony Pictures, Apple Computer, Southern California Edison, Virgin Music, and with individuals on their vision. And I also did a lot of work on spirituality and work. How can we bring the conversation of spirituality and work into the workplace as an inquiry, not as a, I have the answer and you don't, because that's as a proselytizing, that's not going to work. So I was going to do a talk on spirituality and work at a conference in New Mexico in the US. And I was sitting by myself, meditating, praying, and I'm thinking, if every business in the world is spiritual, is that what you want? And I said, no. If we could transform business through spirituality, but if we could transform business, and because business is the temporal power in the world, then we could transform the world. And then, Sophie, this thought popped into my mind, oh, you mean heaven on earth. And I said, you can't say that. You can't say heaven on earth. And then I thought, well, why not? As you said earlier, we can talk about hell on earth. We can talk about the wars and the environment and the economic uncertainty and the refugees and all, God forbid, the threat of nuclear weapons. All of that stuff is permissible, but not the kind of soul's longing and soul's vision we have for the kind of life and work and family and nation and world we want, i.e. heaven on earth. And so that really began to intrigue, well, more than intrigue me. I knew that was my next, quote, assignment in life. The moment I heard heaven on earth, I knew, okay, that's it. That's the next phase of my life. That was 30 something years ago. And so I started going around to people saying, what's heaven on earth? What's heaven on earth? Because I really didn't have an idea that I wanted to shove down your throat. I really didn't know. So I went on this journey asking people, what's heaven on earth? What's heaven on earth? What's heaven on earth? And out of that, because I also wanted to get the lay of the land. Is there a discoverable land here with issues and ways in, and which we'll talk about more in this interview. So how do we do that? And by asking, what is heaven on earth? I boiled that question into 3 separate questions, which I would like to ask you, and I'd like the listeners and viewers here, stop the video after each question and answer it for yourself before we go on. So, may I ask you
Yeah, obviously, I really want to answer your questions. I also want to respect you in the beginning of this conversation, obviously, with the context of this, because I think it's interesting. You have this impressive bio, Martin, as a speaker and management consultant, president of your own management firm, and you have been doing all this visionary strategy consulting for these big companies. You have been a keynote speaker for the Leadership and Ethics Forum at Harvard Business School. You are the co-author of The Chicken Soup for the Soul at Work, which has sold over it's a New York Times bestseller, I think, and it has sold over 1 million copies, and it's been translated into 15 languages. And you've had so much business success, and you have been so recognized in your field of expertise. And then the contrast, and that was why I started the conversation with this question, was the contrast, like you were like realizing, there is some embarrassment about talking about this heaven on earth. It's like it's a little naive or childlike or simplistic, or it's like, yeah, but that will never happen. I mean, like, get real. We live in misery. We live in how would you ever think that you could make a difference and create heaven on earth? And that was what I was hinting at, and applauding you for having the courage actually to step out of this serious role as this management consultant and this very successful businessman, and like I don't want to say child, but like with this very honest, very humble, very hopeful, optimistic question for people and the focus that we can actually create. If we can create hell on earth, obviously we can create heaven. It's just a matter of changing our focus, right? And yes. I just want to applaud you for doing that. Also, in the light of me having started this conversation about the New World Lead, asking people, how do we create the world we love to live in, and experience on my own journey, which is only so short, a couple of months now, that it's actually that people look at me and are like, what are you talking about? Are you crazy or what? I mean, like...
Well, that's a good point. There are 2 things. One is the fear, especially in North America and the United States, that you're going to be proselytizing, that heaven on earth means a particular point of view. I have it, you don't, and I'm going to shove this down your throat. And people don't want that. And that was never my idea at all. Plus, the other issues you bring up, it's naive, it's unrealistic. We've never had it. We've always had suffering. That's just the way the world is. And yet, in my heart and soul, when I saw, profound suffering in the world, you recall at the beginning of the book that I see this young girl in Brazil who is catatonic and has cigarette butts burns all over her body. And I mean, I'd never seen anything like that. And I could have killed at that moment. I wouldn't, but I had the thought I could kill whoever did this to her. And so there is this suffering in the world that is, for me, unnecessary and immoral and reoccurring. And when I contrast that or compare that to heaven on earth, well, why not? And it was courageous, but not, yes, it was. And I can understand why you say that. But there have been other, when I started talking about vision in Toronto in the late 1980s, people said, you're crazy. You can't vision, literally. No, you can't talk about that. And then I did the whole thing on spirituality and work. No, you can't talk about that. And, now heaven on earth. No, you can't talk about that. And so with each of those, my concern about what you thought, because that was the initial issue. What will you think of me were I to say that? And so if what I was being concerned with and driven by was what other people thought, but I listened to them. I mean, I did listen. I mean, I always listen, whether you agree, especially if you disagree, because there might be something useful there. But I knew from the beginning, from the moment I heard heaven on earth, that that's my next assignment in life. There was no question. And the fact that you thought it was crazy or unrealistic or whatever, I mean, it didn't matter. It had no relevance to me. I listened, but it had no relevance to me. Because I looked at the world and I saw the suffering and I said, so am I more concerned with what you think of me or more concerned with ending these horrific sufferings in the world? And when I saw that, well, that wasn't the decision. The decision was when I heard the phrase, I knew instantly, bang, that's it. So, and the other thing I think, Sophie, too, is this was 30-ish years ago. In the last, 3, 4, 5 years, COVID, especially the Russian-Ukrainian war, people are much more willing to entertain what was heretofore a crazy idea called heaven on earth, because there is so much hell on earth present in the world. I don't know if you just, whenever people watch this, but we're recording this in August of 2023, and I'm in Canada, and up north in the city of Yellowknife, which is the capital of this territory, they're evacuating the entire city because of forest fires. There are very, very major, serious issues in the world. So those are not okay with me. And a growing number of people, that's another way I know that this is working. So more people are now willing to entertain the idea of heaven on earth than ever were. And one way I know is if you go onto Google and in quotation marks put the phrase heaven on earth 2022, 2023, you can see the growth. So the phrase heaven on earth is coming into culture, not just from me, but elsewhere. Utopia, paradise, those kinds of words are coming in underneath the surface turmoil of culture. There's this birth of this new age which wants to come out. People are sick and tired of it and don't know that the individual and the collective have the authority, the agency to actually make a difference. And so you said a very important line. The new heaven on earth is, I'm suggesting, I'm offering, heaven on earth is the new story of what it means to be a human and what it means to be humanity, what it means to be the individual, you, and the collective, we.
And that's powerful. It's so powerful to have the conversation. I mean, like to start, I applaud the leadership that you have assumed by starting this conversation so many years ago and still going strong, creating this. I think this came out in 2018.
Yes.
And has been a work in progress for so many years for you, right?
Yes. It actually took me, I'm embarrassed to say it once, 25 years to write the book, because I am not a big reader. I'm a big interactor. So I had to go around and really test these ideas over and over and over, such that when I spoke them once, people would get them. So if I came with a new idea with respect to heaven on earth and people didn't understand what I was saying, I had to go back and refine and refine and refine. And then once it was clear, then I could write that chapter.
That makes sense. So with all your research, all your wisdom and experience, Martin, how how do we do this? How do we create heaven on earth? How do we create the world we love to live in?
Well, the first aspect, Sophie, is that we believe it's impossible. That we think we believe we have to believe that we can do it. And I'm suggesting in the book, set that aside. Just commit. And it's as simple as saying, okay, I commit to playing my part in co-creating heaven on earth. And with serious intention that you're giving your word that you're going to do that. And then take one tiny, and this is very important, tiny, simple, easy, concrete step in the next 24 hours to move that forward. A step that is so simple for you that you know you're going to be successful at it. And just keep going and going and going and watch how the momentum and the results start to show up. The other way, or another way, is that from the beginning of this conversation, when I said that I spoke to many, many people about asking what is heaven on earth, and I boiled that down to 3 questions, which I asked you before we went on air, that your permission to ask you. So yes. So I want to ask you, and as the viewers and listeners are hearing this, watching this, stop the tape, stop the video, and answer the questions yourself. So all right, here's question 1. Recall a time, Sophie, when you experienced heaven on earth. I'm going to make some notes here. What was going on? Recall a time when you experienced heaven on earth. What was going on?
And it's interesting because I feel a difference between my mind and my heart. Instinct, or just when you ask it. So my mind is going, oh, how do you, and my heart just knows there is a picture coming out immediately, and it's me having had my first child, and we are like I'm like wrapping her in a love bubble, and this sensation of being in a love bubble, creating this nurturing environment of softness, of purity, of unconditional love, of safety, security, warmness, and that's just the picture I get.
Very clear. Thank you.
Very
second.
Yeah.
Well, we'll go on and describe the talk about the questions at the end. Second question. Here's a magic wand. With this wand, simply by waving it, just pretend you have a magic wand, simply by waving it, you can have heaven on earth. What's heaven on earth?
Heaven on earth is for every child being born. It's for every child experiencing this love bubble upon arrival.
Very clear.
Very clear.
Very clear.
Also, for every adult, or for every human being on this planet, actually to have the opportunity to surrender themselves into this love bubble. Like really, I think like covering the whole world, the whole planet in one big love bubble. Very soft, very gentle. Actually, like my, this was really corny. Or romantic, or I don't know, but my life partner, he knows how much I cherish everything that's soft, and he recently found a carpet online. Obviously, he didn't know that the fabric or how it would feel, but he had this intuitive sense. Okay, this is really good. This is so good. So he ordered one carpet for our bedroom, and it arrived, and we opened it, the package, and it was like so soft that I have never in my entire life, I'm 51 years old, 51 years on this planet, I've never in my entire life set my foot on on a carpet. Did I say blanket? It was a carpet on the floor, right? Never set my foot on anything this soft. And it was like when I began walking on it and felt it, it was, I instantly recalled this sensation of the love bubble, and the emotional experience of the love bubble became physical on the floor. In this car, it was so crazy for me, because I was like, whoa, this is it's like the senses, or it's totally out of the mind and just right into the senses of the body, right?
Very clear.
I don't know why but I would love to wrap the whole planet and all of humanity, every single human being, in this soft. I think people become better persons if they walk on this. I think they would if they all walked on this soft carpet.
Very clear. Very clear.
Very crazy.
No. We'll get back to it. Third question. What simple, easy, concrete step will you take in the next 24 hours to have more of that heaven on earth?
Yeah. Okay. So I want to okay, so one thing I will do that I have actually never done before, because the great thing about this is that when we discovered how soft it was, this carpet, he went online and bought one more for the summer house. So we also have it here in the summer house where I am right now. And I'm alone on a retreat in the summer house a couple of days, and I have actually not been sitting on it, meditating and sending love out to the world. And I will commit to sitting on the carpet, the softest carpet in the world, meditating and sending love and wrapping the whole world and all of humanity in this softness and the love bubble it represents for me.
Whew, Sophie, I love it. I love it. All right, let's go through each one. First question, recall a time when you experienced heaven on earth. What was going on? I want to talk about what you did not do. You didn't ask me, Martin, what do you mean by heaven on earth? Sophie, nobody asks, well, very few. 99.999% of people just answer the question. I didn't define heaven on earth. I didn't tell you what it was. You didn't ask me. But you simply answered, and you said, my first child, when she was born, wrapping her in the love bubble, softness, purity, like in a cave, safety, unconditional love, rather, security, warmth. The interesting thing about the answering to the first question, recall a time when you experienced heaven on earth, is that people don't ask. And if they do, rarely, I just say, I'm not going to answer, turn it back to them. And then they answer. It's because I believe that within you is something I call the already knowing. There's an already knowing within you about what heaven on earth is. Because if there wasn't, how could you answer the question? You simply answer. Everybody answers, which tells me that you already know. That's a very important first point. Second point, here's a magic wand, and with it you can have heaven on earth. The reason for the magic wand is to remove the necessity of having to know how you're going to create heaven on earth. And if you don't have to know how, because that's the magic wand's job, I don't have to know how. No, you don't have to know how. Oh, well, then let me tell you what it is. Every child experiences the love bubble upon arrival. Every human being is wrapped in the love bubble. The entire world is wrapped in, the entire planet, the entire atmosphere, environment is wrapped in that love bubble. You do know what heaven on earth is. And the magic wand removes the how, so you go purely into the what. When I do a large, either online or in person seminar, it's amazing because person after person after person answers, and you could just feel the whole space opening. We know what it is. We know. And then the third question, Sophie, I don't want to just leave it as this is heaven on earth. I know what it is, which is wonderful. I actually want, if you're willing, to have you begin to engage in making it real in our world, which I know you can. How? By taking a simple, very important language, simple, easy, concrete step that you know you're going to be successful at. Well, for me, Martin, it's going on that carpet in my bedroom, sitting down, meditating, and sending love and the love bubble all around the world to unwrap our entire planet. That's you creating, very literally, the new story of what it means to be an individual and humanity, heaven on earth. So let me stop there.
It's really, really beautiful. And it's actually dawning on me as you're speaking, and because obviously I read your book during the summer, and it has been permeating my cells, and I've been thinking about the different aspects of it. But actually, the thing about the thing about the love, I mean, like the thing about the love bubble and my firstborn child was not something I had seen. I had a lot of really good questions or answers to these, but they were like coming from another place in me. Yeah. So there's something about where do we answer these questions? And I think there's something about you have created a vortex of heaven on earth. So when you are present and you ask these questions, you're actually pulling the true answer out of people. This is a really beautiful experience. Thank you.
And you're very welcome. Thank you. And the answer is already there. That's what surprises me. And for the listeners and watchers, I also want to say, please do not begin with what is heaven on earth for you. That's too big a question. You have to ask the questions in order. Recall a time you experienced heaven on earth so that people get into it. Then you can say, with a magic wand, what's heaven on earth? And then what simple, easy, concrete step? And those questions are on my website, Project Heaven on Earth, and obviously in the book. They form the basis of the book. On Amazon, the book is.
So I'm going to put links for below this video, and also at the website, so people can go on the webpage for Project Heaven on Earth, and they can actually sign up for a course and get on your newsletter. And then obviously the link for the book on Amazon, so people can move on from there. You also have a YouTube channel, and you've actually you have been interviewed several times on this project, about this project. Really, really good interviews. I'm also going to put links to those interviews. There's one with Joe Vitale, which is an amazing conversation. I just love the interaction between you about and the insights that he gets. It's so amazing how he has been working with this material also for so many years. I think it's wonderful also to see all the other transformational teachers who get so many ahas, and as well as he does, in your presence. I want to recognize you for that energy that you are carrying, projecting heaven on earth.
Which is interesting, like, because you held up the book. I want to just hold it up so people get. What's interesting is the title. The title is Project Heaven on Earth, but the title is also Project Heaven on Earth. So in English, project is either a verb, project heaven on earth, or a noun, Project Heaven on Earth. And that was a friend of mine, Richard Porter, who, because I was going to call it the Heaven on Earth Project. He said, no, Project Heaven on Earth. I went, oh my God, Rich, that's brilliant.
Yeah, it is really, really brilliant.
So we now have we have people who now get what heaven on earth is for them, The fear that I'm going to proselytize or try to impose an answer disappears. The fear that it's some kind of secret religious cult disappears, because they have come up with their own answers, their own knowing, their own divine soul knowing, God-centered knowing, whatever deep place within you that knows what heaven on earth is. That's what this is accessing. And what is then coming out into the world. Because it's time. It's the next evolutionary step for us as humanity.
And I think it's really, really interesting, the thing you say, the difference. If you ask people, what is heaven on earth for you? What does heaven on earth look like for you? And we're like, I don't know. That's a little big, right? But when you say recall an experience, recall a memory, recall a time when you actually had a sensation of heaven on earth. This is brilliant. It's a really good way to come around our defense mechanisms and our limited abilities to.
Well, I think what you in line with that limited. I think one of the things that I've discovered is one of the limiting misbeliefs is that this is not heaven on earth. We were in the Garden of Eden. We were kicked out of the garden. We can never go back. It's a one-way street out forever, which in a way you could use, and we have used, to justify all the evils and sufferings in the world. But what if that's not true? What if it's not a one-way street? What if we can go back? And I'm suggesting that lights up something in our divine souls that says, oh my God, we forgot. Because I think that's just it. We forgot. We've been on a kind of a hero's journey out. And now we're waking up and going, okay, I got it. With this advanced, more consciousness, I just made that up. Let's see where we can apply it. And we want to apply it to the kind of world we want.
Obviously. So if we reverse the roles and I ask you to recall a time when you experienced heaven on earth.
I mean, the one that just pops instantly. I try if people do ask me the three questions, I'm very present to the answers in the moment. When I was a kid growing up, we got raspberries 2 weeks a year because there was no importing in Canada from the US then. It was 2 weeks a year. And to this day, I'm crazy. And I remember those big, fat, juicy, they're fresh and you just rinse them through cold water, sometimes with a little sugar. I still remember that. There's something I have about raspberries. I love them. They send me into heaven on earth. So that was a feeling. Or last night we were out for dinner with two other couples, and it was a long table, and I was sitting on one end and my wife at the other, and she just gave me a look of love, which was, I was like, it was very obvious what she was doing to me. And last year we celebrated our 50th.
Wow, congratulations.
Thank you. Or as a friend of mine said, half a century. And I went, half a century? No. And then I went, no, yes, it is half a century.
It is half a century. Wow.
That's has more gravitas for me than 50 years.
Yeah.
I mean, I say this 50 years to you, and I go, that's not true. No, it is true.
So beautiful. And I recall that you said that you, was it after the prom, you went to Niagara Falls when you just fell in love and you experienced that together? Because I was...
Not with my current wife, with my girlfriend.
That was not your current wife. Okay. So I just I thought that was a romantic thing.
No, way before my wife.
That was way before you. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
People don't know. After graduation from high school at the prom, Sandy Latner and I and Bob Kruger and his girlfriend, whose name I forgot, I'm sorry, so many years ago, went to Niagara Falls, which is about 40 minutes from where we lived. And we drove up to the Canadian side of the falls. There was nobody there. It was like 2 a.m. We turned on the radio and we were only 4 people there, and we were dancing at 2:00 in the morning. It was wonderful.
It's so funny because you told me the story before we went on the summer holiday this summer, and you were actually the reason why we went to the Canadian side and experienced the.
Oh, you did the falls.
Yeah. We experienced the falls at the Canadian side, and for the first time for all of us, both me, my partner, and our children, never been there before. And it was just and it was a great experience. I'm so grateful for you sharing that.
Welcome.
Yeah,
so
that was also a little bit of heaven on earth, actually. Yeah. Beautiful. It's so funny.
Second question. Ask me the second question with a magic wand.
So if you have a magic wand, if you had a magic wand, how would you create?
What is heaven on earth for me?
What is heaven on earth? Yeah.
Heaven on earth is people getting their agency that they, as individuals and we collectively, can have heaven here on earth. And that is the story. That is the consciously lived story of humanity. We see it happening. We can feel the momentum of it as it flourishes and flourishes. And I just sitting back there going, this is amazing. It's wonderful. So that's heaven on earth.
That's amazing. I see a picture of you, and you're not very old, and you have raspberries on all your fingers. And you are like doing like this, and it's so funny. It must be my imagination running crazy.
I love it. We got to get some raspberries then. Okay, we'll get raspberries and big hopefully we can get big raspberries here.
Okay, so that's beautiful.
That's question:
What are you committing yourself to do within?
Well, this interview is clearly for me. Because Sophie, you said before we went on air that we're going to go to a different place this time. We're going to go, because you've watched a lot of my interviews already. You didn't want a regular interview with me. You wanted to go deeper. And I feel we're doing that, very clearly doing that. And that energy is going out into the world now in this moment and as people watch this.
That's beautiful. So I will commit myself to get it out there as fast as possible. Let's get the energy out and spread. That is also what I'm going to commit to within the next 24 hours.
Thank you, Sophie. The other thing I want to talk about too is once you have asked, and ask your well, in your case, your partner, your children, I don't know how old they are, but
18 and 30. Yeah.
18 and
30.
Ask. And sit around and ask, but don't have everybody answer all 3 at the same time. Ask question 1, everybody answers question 1, and you talk about it. Then ask question 2, everybody answers question 2. That makes it much more powerful. And what you'll also discover, and what the book then goes into, is what I've discovered as the 7 gateways. That is, as I've asked these 3 questions hundreds and hundreds and thousands of times, I began to see patterns in the answers, and they kept coming up over and over and over. And I'm thinking, whoa, there is something here that's not pretty consistent. That is consistent. So the book goes into the 7. I'll just go quickly. One is people who say heaven on earth is internal. Mm-hmm. They work on themselves internally. Another is living a global value. For you, it would be, the love bubble is clearly living a global value. Because for you, when that love bubble is experienced globally, that's heaven on earth. Relationships, heaven on earth through relationships with yourself, with another, with others, with the divine. And there are people who say out in the world, heaven on earth is ending a particular suffering, hunger, war, poverty, the threat of nuclear weapons, not making them better, which is wonderful, but ending them. Institutions. What if the purpose of institutions, government, media, science, entertainment, what if the purpose of those institutions, religion, government, is to help co-create heaven on earth? What do they do? What do they not do? And then nations. We have people, our mutual friend Suzanne, who said Denmark is a heaven on earth nation. So we have people around the world, particularly a woman I'm thinking of right at the moment in Austria, Elizabeth Ziegler, who's just amazing there. I'm here in Eastern Canada, and our island, which is also a province, Prince Edward Island, we've declared Prince Edward Island Canada's first heaven on earth province. And we have all kinds of projects going on here. I interviewed, and I'll send you this link, all 4 political party leaders. I asked them the 3 heaven on earth questions, and I asked another, what I call question 2A in this case, using the same magic wand, what's heaven on earth for Prince Edward Island? And they all answered it. Or using, in your business, using the same magic wand, what's heaven on earth for our business or for our family, for those kinds of questions. Institutions, yeah, and nations rather. And then the 7th is, this here now is heaven on earth. The belief, Sophie, that this is not heaven on earth, there's nothing we can do about it, keeps not heaven on earth locked in. But if we just stop, we could just do that right now for a moment and let heaven on earth here. There, as simple as that. That's how close, present, and immediate the experience of heaven on earth is. So those 7 gateways, each of those I go into in depth so that by the time you finish the book, it's very clear to you what heaven on earth is for you. And most importantly, the project that you'll do, because what will happen as you read through the book, there's something will pop for you. You'll go, I can do that, or this is what heaven on earth is for me. One woman smiles at 2 people every day. One woman collects a penny a day to help end violence against women. She's raised $2,500, took that here in Canada, the government of Canada, which gave her and her group $100,000 for each of the subsequent 3 years to help end violence against women. A real estate agent who asks each of her agents in her office to deduct $100 for every commission check when they sell a home or an office building. They've raised over $400,000. They build houses for people, and they're so proud of that. A police officer who's created a 16-page manual called Heaven on Earth for Law Enforcement. A man from Africa.
Yes.
A man from Africa.
So many great examples, so much to be inspired by
Yes.
reading this book. But really, what happens when the inspiration kicks in and becomes this personal experience, that is when the transformation takes place. Wow.
And the next level that we're working on now is we're doing I, and now it's we heavening earth. That's the new space that's just opening. I call it phase 2. That's what we're doing now. That's what we are doing, because it's not enough to have heaven on earth for you, individual. It's also heaven on earth for we, humanity. That's the phase we're in. So both for you, the individual, and for us, the we. All of us, the we. So that's the book. That's the project. And please I'm asking people, I'll do this with you, Sophie. Go to Amazon, buy Project Heaven on Earth, buy 3 copies, one for you, one for somebody in your life right now who needs this book. And just take a second and think, who is that person? Okay. And then one for somebody who will come into your life, and you'll have the book ready. Or I have something called the Case for Heaven on Earth. If you buy 20 or more copies and just send me an email to Martin at Project Heaven on Earth, Martin at projectheavenonearth.com, with the receipt rather from Amazon, I will do a 1-hour webinar for you and your group for free, or a consult, a Heaven on Earth consult. We want to get this out now into the world. That's the job.
That's beautiful, beautiful offer. Amazing. Have you presented the leaders in the forum, the Leadership and Ethics Forum at Harvard Business School for the Project Heaven on Earth?
Well, I haven't spoken there in years, but I have to this group that Jack Canfield created called the Transformational Leadership Council. People like Marcy Shimoff, John Gray, who wrote Marcy Shimoff wrote Happy for No Reason. John Gray wrote Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus. Those kinds of people. So they all know about this. And you can see it if you put in the phrase heaven on earth on Google in quotes. Watch the difference between last year and this year. You'll see it's rising. People want this. And we not only do we want people to become aware that this exists, but actually engage with making it real in a way that only you can. That's what's so unique here. You can do it in a way that, I love your thing about the love bubble. That I just love that.
Yeah, I realize it's so interesting.
Project Love Bubble. Project Love Bubble.
Exactly. There's so many things that I realize now popping from this awareness. It's beautiful. It's really beautiful. Also about a new retreat I just offered and sold to a client. That's actually a love like a mothering or nurturing retreat for her. And I suddenly realized, wow, I'm actually healing her and creating an environment for her that is mirroring the environment that is heaven on earth for me. And I didn't think of it like that. So yes. The thing about getting this perspective that it's not just like your wife sending you love across the table or whatever it's not just that experience, it's actually heaven on earth. The thing about suddenly framing it like that
yes
makes it special.
Sophie, that's exactly it. What I've noticed over the years is it moves from heaven on earth is impossible, Martin, what are you talking about, this is crazy, naive, to oh, that's interesting, to oh, so it is possible, oh, so I can do something about it, oh, I am doing something about it, oh, it's showing up. That progression happens over and over and over again. And now we are doing that. That's the newest phase.
Yeah, it's definitely important to move from me to we and really step into this collective consciousness of presence for humanity. I want to go back to something you said in the beginning, which you are also writing on some of the first pages in this book, and that's your experience with this woman. Or young woman or child with this cigarette butts, and this misery and this feeling within you like you could kill because it was this unfairness and I want to I saw a movie, a new movie came out on 4th of July called The Sound of Freedom. It has not been widely promoted like the normal productions in the United States or Hollywood. It's not a Hollywood production, I think. It's but anyway, I don't know. I saw it, even though it hasn't been promoted that much through some channel of mine within this community. The film is about this human trafficking, and not just human trafficking, but child trafficking, and how this is actually an industry for so much $1 billion a year, and it's like I don't know if several million children are being trafficked every year, sold for abuse, sexual abuse or whatever. And it's so devastating to just taking this in and realizing this is actually going on. This is something. Some people are actually selling children for a living.
Yes.
How do we, Martin, how do we process this and at the same time create heaven on earth? I mean, because what comes up in us, just like you said, you get angry, you wanna go. I mean, like normally we have this. We say we have this reaction, right? We either fight or flight or freeze when something that extremely happens. Well, I really don't know how to phrase this, and I know that we should respond with love, because that is what we have to respond to with everything. But how do we do that?
But I think those people who are doing this have, in a sense, gone very far away from their souls and are participating in this great evil. They need to be caught, put in jail. I mean, there is a consequence for what they're doing. The children being looked after. There is evil in the world. Part of heaven on earth is to confront rather, and clear up those sufferings and that evil. It's not to say everything's wonderful. And I hope someday, my intention is that there is a heaven on earth when those sufferings no longer exist. That's very clear to me in that chapter in the book on sufferings. In the meantime, we have to stop them and tell the world that there is a consequence for this kind of behavior. You go to jail for a very long time.
Yeah. So there's, I mean, what I'm also hinting at here is we have a lot of clearing up to do, clearing and cleansing, and it has to also become quite practical in order for us to there is something we need to stop doing. There's something we need to start doing. We need to mature as a race. And we need to become very aware of the difference between living from a soul, pure integrity, soulful place, or living from the ego or a false self image.
Correct. Yeah. I mean, at one level, a very profound level, Sophie, that's what this is about. That we've entered an age in which the soul, which has been suppressed greatly, is now saying, okay, enough. I'm coming out now, individually and collectively, and we're going to clean up a lot of this garbage, and we're going to get this thing back on tracks and moving in the right direction. Yeah.
Yeah. And I really appreciate how you make it so simple, like just make small commitments, like baby steps. You're not going to save the world. We don't need to save the world. We just need to stop doing what is projecting hell and start doing what is projecting heaven. And take responsibility for our own actions, obviously, for our own thoughts and feelings, emotions, and behavior in our everyday lives, right?
Sophie, I want to address one thing, which is the belief that we're not here to save the world or change the world, make it better. I disagree with that respectfully. I think we are here for that, and we've forgotten the power we have to do that. That, at one heart, is what we're talking about here. We are saying we're here to change the world for the better, and that you have that authority as a human being, as a human soul, to do that now.
But I just think it's very important, and that's also referencing actually Suzanne, our mutual connection. I had a conversation with her a couple of months ago about this, the drama triangle, and how we can fall into these roles of either being victims or persecutors, and saviors, and the savior. and rescuers, and that when we step into that logic, it's actually reinforcing the whole drama. So instead of saving or rescuing, we have to step out of this logic and create a change from an empowered place.
Very well said. Very well said. Yes.
Which I'm actually still in the process of figuring out what looks like when I am confronted with something like, for instance, the subject of this movie, The Sound of Freedom. I'm like, okay, so we obviously have victims here, but I mean, how do I respond to this awareness that this is going on in the world from a mature, empowered leadership position of my mission is to create a love bubble. So, I mean, like, and this is, I'm still struggling a little about how we proceed, how we conduct ourselves without falling into the drama.
It's new because we're so used to the drama and the victim and the triangle. And to make a little step every day. I remember a client, actually the former head of Sony Pictures, used to say, the way you take a rocket ship and change its trajectories, you can just change it a teeny little bit, but over miles or kilometers in your case, it changes. We have that ability, Sophie. We have the ability to create the kind of world that our souls long for. And this is the time period in which that awareness and consciousness is emerging and being acted on.
I know that. And we have the responsibility for our own focus and for doing the small steps every day in the right.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that momentum begins building and building and building. Yeah. Thank you, Sophie.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Martin. Is there anything else you feel like sharing?
Thank you for watching this interview. Thank you, Sophie, very much for your love and support of this mission and for the love bubble. I love that phrase. I'm going to use that with attribution to you. I love that phrase. Buy 3 copies of the book on Amazon. Buy 20. Let me know, Martin at Project Heaven on Earth. Take this out into the world in the way that only you can. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Martin. Thank you.